Hello, everybody. This is Karen Mackay, professional countrywoman, coming to you from my caravan, where I'm just recording this little bit of information here for you for all of those who have bought the crop rotation poster and would like to know a little bit more about how to use it. So first of all, thank you very much for buying it. The reason I actually created it was because of what's involved with growing a vegetable garden. We have all these plants in our vegetable garden that come from all over the world and like all sorts of different growing conditions and have all sorts of different nutritional needs and environmental needs and that sort of thing. So I could never remember which plant liked more lime and which plant didn't. So I actually did a whole bunch of research and ended up coming up with this crop rotation poster. And as I like really beautiful things, I hope you think it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful. And it's all come together in one space. Now, you don't ever have to copy exactly what I do, but if you're a beginner gardener, it's always actually really helpful to start somewhere with learning a system, and then you can grow and adapt that to what you learn over the years. And you will learn as you start out in your garden and observe and grow and learn your climate and the area that you live in, you will learn what will grow in your garden. So this is a really good starting point. So with that in mind, let's start. Now I've started with an overall picture of the design. You can see that it's actually designed very similar to each individual component of the garden. So this component that I'm circling with my cursor here now, year one, is actually what my garden looks like to a certain extent, a very traditional design. So with this design, you have the 4 beds which rotate clockwise, and then you have your 4 outer beds, 1, 2, 3, 4. You have got your beds at the top and your beds at the bottom. So the overall design of the poster reflects the design of your vegetable garden. So I'm just going to hop back in here into the middle. This is the design of my bed here. It's a very traditional design. It works really well, especially if you have your garden actually as a feature of your household. And, you know, why not? I mean, for example, Versailles is a massive vegetable garden, and you cannot say that's not a feature. One of the things I like about it is even if you decide not to plant anything in it, you've got these very strong shapes. You can fill them with plants or stones or mulch or all sorts of things to make them look beautiful, even if nothing much is happening in them. So when you when you get your crop rotation poster, you should also get this wrapper that comes with it, which gives you tells you a little bit about what crop rotation is, but also what it's got on it is down here. Let's just zoom in a wee bit. Down here, you've got a little table there that's going to show you how to match up your seasons with your the months where you live in the world. So by season, we've got early winter, late winter, early spring, late spring, early summer, late summer, early autumn and late autumn. And above that, I've got the months for the Southern Hemisphere. So winter for me would be June, July, August. And then in the corresponding months for that in the Northern Hemisphere will be December, January, February. But you are going to have a microclimate wherever you are. So I want you to write down what in your region, what early winter to late winter corresponds for you. And that way you can match that up with what goes on in the crop rotation poster. So I'll go back to there now. And when we look at our each individual thing, I'll just scroll zoom in a wee bit there. Scroll up a wee bit. This is year one. We're going to look at year one as an example. Now, when you look at this garden poster, you can see that there's some numbering on there, so that relates down to our key. So we're going to pop down to the key now and go over that. So this is going to be an important part of your plan. Let's bring it up a wee bit. go, there's your key. And it's just follow the key. Number 1 is your legumes and sweet corn. Legumes are your beans and peas, and essential to know that they basically fix nitrogen into your soil. Now, I actually put sweet corn in there. It's a good example of companion planting. Sometimes sweet corn takes up a lot of room and I can't really fit it in my my warm bed, which is another place that you could put it. And so it loves nitrogen, so I actually put it in my legume bed because I often have room there. The other thing I do with sweet corn is that it becomes a really good structure for climbing beans up. So I corn growing and then earlier in the season, and then I get beans growing up the sweet corn as a structure. So you get, that's a lovely little companion planting that you can do that fulfills a lot of jobs actually. So that's a really good thing to be doing. So that's legumes, and of course legumes, they will provide lots of nitrogen in your soil for what's going to follow. So the next year you have group 2. Group 2 is your leafy greens and brassicas. So they are all the leafy greens plants that love to use the nitrogen in the soil that was put there the year before. So leafy greens, they include all your salad vegetables, brassicas, things like that. And they're going to be in my year 2 that go in that same bed. So when you go and look at year 2, it's now got in the bed where legumes were last year, it's got leafy greens in that bed. So you don't even have to guess it yourself. You can just go to year 2 and go, okay, there's my plan. It's already right there. Year 3 in my crop rotation, I have heat loving and fruiting. So a lot of the fruiting plants that we grow come from Mediterranean type countries where they love the warmth. Tomatoes, courgettes, pumpkins, capsicums, all those sorts of chilies, aubergines, all those sorts of things love a warm garden. So they're not actually going to be planting, for me, I'm not going to be planting them until the weather's really warmed up. So a lot of that stuff doesn't go in my garden until November, which is May, which is May in the Northern Hemisphere. In Auckland and the North Island of New Zealand, you'd be planting a little bit earlier than that. But for me, I'm not going to be planting that. So the advantages of that is that I'm still harvesting winter vegetables in that bed from the year before. And once they're all finished, in goes my warm plants. Now, they don't like a lot of nitrogen. So the advantage is the nitrogen that was fixed in that soil 2 years ago when we had legumes in there is now depleting. And I've got the plants here going to really enjoy that. And then key number 4, you've got roots, tubers, and alliums. That's all your root crops such as beetroot, carrots, parsnips, turnips, weeds, leeks, celeries, onions, garlic, shallots, cucumber, potatoes, etc. Now, potatoes, of course, are an example of something that does grow underground, but they're more related to the tomato family. But they're ones that we know that even though they're in the same family, they don't actually like to be planted together. So it's kind of important to remember that even though plants all come in the same families, they don't necessarily like each other. So those are ones that I actually plant separately. And in fact, I plant my potatoes in another bed altogether because they take up lots of room. And gosh, once you plant potatoes, you can't get rid of them. They're always coming up. But that's just an example of a root crop. And they don't like a lot of nutrient at all. So they're using up all the nutrients that you really bulked up on in year 1. Now, looking back at your key, look at your plants. I hope you're looking at that look at your poster while I'm talking. Number 5, you've got a small fruiting tree. This is the design thing. You can pop that in at the corners. It makes it look beautiful. I've suggested things like a lemon tree, a dwarf rootstock apple, crab apple, red or black currants, blueberries, feijoas, cranberries. And in that central island, you can plant a lemon tree. You can have a bird bath, sundial, standard rose. I've seen standard lavenders, something similar to make it look really beautiful and just really enhance the look of your garden, because there's no reason why your vegetable garden can't be beautiful as well as practical. And even while it is beautiful, with it bringing flowers, going to bring butterflies and birds and bees and pollinators into your garden. So it's all good. It's all good. Number 6, a perennial bed. This is at the bottom of the garden. This particular one I've got in my garden is asparagus. So if you're growing asparagus, it's actually this number 6 is going to give you the whole overview of how to cultivate asparagus over the whole year. Number 7 indicates a hedge or a fence, which is just really shelter. You really need shelter in your vegetable garden. You can use existing walls. How lucky are you if you've got a stone or a brick wall? In New Zealand, we use sometimes can use corrugated iron, because the reason that I'm saying how lucky you are to have that is that that's not only going to provide shelter, but it's going to provide a heat sink. Any warmth that the sun, particularly in winter, can be stored in a wall like that. A hedge or fence or a wall can also provide structure for plants to grow up. So in your outdoor bed, exterior side beds, you can have plants grow up the fence and over the wall, such as your beans and peas and things like that. Bed number 8 is another perennial bed. You can see I've got a seat there. In my garden, actually, my seat doesn't go there. It goes over where, over on the side bed. I'll just go up and show you my seat is on. My seat is over here. So you just adapt it to what your conditions are. So we were in bed 8. I've got a seat there. Wherever your seat is, whatever it is, you can have lots of lovely herbs around there. You basically got your back to the south there, or the north if you're in the northern hemisphere, and it's really sheltered from the cold weather, and it's a nice little spot for you to enjoy your garden. Number 9, it's got a little bit more information about that garden there. Got perennial herbs in that spot, low-growing ones such as thyme, oregano, chives, and at the back, rosemary and sage, etc. And you've got lots of scented herbs around the seat. Key number 10, again, another more about your perennial bed. Got strawberries in there, and then it gives you the cultivation notes for strawberries. Number 11, another perennial plant that goes in with your vegetables, and this time it's rhubarb, and again that gives you a nice little cultivation notes for your rhubarb. And number 12, it's got your small fruiting bush that you can have behind your rhubarb or in any area. So that's what all your numbers correspond to. So just that will give you a little bit more information. Now we'll just go back down there. We'll just go back down to your big bed again, and we're now going to go and check out each of the groups. So I'm going to start off here with group 1. As you can see, you've got group 1, group 2, group 3, and group 4. These correspond to your key, the numbers on your key, and it's just going to give you some more cultivation notes for each of those beds. So for example, I'm just going to use one for an example, otherwise I'll be here all day. So we'll just start off with group 1, and we're going to zoom back in there again. And this is going to give you cultivation notes for the whole year. So I start off with just a little bit of information about each group. Legumes, I've said what they're going to follow on from. So they're following on from your root crops from last year. What they're going to do is they're going to replenish the soil at the beginning of the crop rotation cycle. They're nitrogen fixers, and they have fibrous root systems. Then the next thing I've got for each year is how to prepare your beds. So if it's winter for you, this is where you start. How are you going to prepare your beds? And again, this is another good reason why I created this poster, is because I could never remember from year to year what each particular plant family liked, or what I planted in that space the year before. So this is telling us that in an ideal situation, we can actually really stoke up this bed, chuck in heaps of organic matter. You can actually create a compost bed right on it for the whole of the winter. This is really my bed where I really replenish the soil for the whole of the 4-year cycle. In spring, early spring, I'm going to be getting broad beans in, and then from then on, starting some peas. So September is in my season, where I am here, is a good time of the year to be starting peas. You can start them a little bit indoors if you're still getting real bad frost. Peas like a coolish climate. And if I start in September, I've got peas ready for Christmas. And that's something that we traditionally do in our family, is have peas ready for Christmas, because there's always a young'un around that loves to pick peas. And this year, the last few years, I'm lucky enough to have a little elderflower, a little granddaughter called Elderflower, who loves picking peas. Bit of a tyrant in the garden when it comes to that. So there I got in spring, and I talk there about succession sowing. So that's another thing to learn, is that you can keep planting every 2 or 3 weeks, whatever crop you plant. You're sowing and planting every few weeks, and that ensures that you've got a crop coming up all through the season. As far as beans go, we don't plant your traditional French beans or bush beans until the soil is warmed up. For me, that is November. So we move through now into summer, and we've got other beans, perennial beans such as scarlet beans, can go in now in summer once the soil is warmed up. And there I talk a little bit about sweet corn as well. So we've talked about that. So that sets you off on what to do in summer, and then again in autumn. So you can start your succession sowing of broad beans. Again, you can autumn sow broad beans. Now, if you're autumn sowing broad beans in your year 1, they obviously can stay there, and they're going to keep providing, they're really going to be a bit of a green crop. And you can also sow them again. You can sow them in the beds that you had roots in last year, which is going to be your new year 1 for next year. You can sow them there. Autumn, and then winter, you can clean up all the beds. If you've sown broad beans, obviously keep them going, and mulch down and get ready for the following year. Now, each of your groups, you can actually follow the whole thing. So obviously in group 2 with your perennials, it's telling you what to sow in early spring. Match that up with what the months are that you know: summer, autumn, winter, and the same for all year round. So that's year 1, and then year 2, you just do the same thing. Follow it through year 2. So I don't want to make this too long, but I hope that gives you a little bit of an overview and a way to actually really start to know your garden, your area, your seasons, your microclimate. You plant what you like to plant. You plant things that you can preserve, that you can eat fresh, that your family like. And I really hope that you enjoy this. On my Facebook page and my Facebook group in particular, I think it's called Crop Rotation and Vegetable Garden Planting Calendar, something like that, you can, I'll usually do a calendar, a diary calendar, to remind you what to plant and where. So I really hope that helps you to understand a little bit more about the crop rotation poster. Just contact me if you need any more information, or if you want some poster. You can go back to my webpage and you can buy from there. I'll put all those links down below. Thank you, and happy planting.